Welcome back to this segment of Joy in Our Town. I'm your host, Felicia Taylor. Joining me in studio is Carol Potok, who's the Executive Director of Aid to Inmate Mothers, along with Deborah Neal. And Deborah is the new mentor coordinator for a new program that they have that we're going to discuss. Ladies, welcome here to our segment.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Absolutely.
Thank
Carol,
you.
You're no stranger, of course. We always love having you to give us updates on what's going on with Aid to Inmate Mothers. So we are just super excited. But before we get started, just in case we have new viewers, tell us a little bit about the history of Aid to Inmate Mothers.
Sure. Aid to Inmate Mothers, or AIM as we call ourselves, has been around for 30 years now.
Yeah.
And I have been with the program for 20 years. The program was actually founded as a visitation program for mothers in prison that had no way to transport their children to visit them. So they might be incarcerated for 3, 4, 5 years, and during that time never see their children. And our founders felt that that wasn't right. And so they set up a network of transportation across the state to bring those kids down once a month. And they set it up as no ordinary visit. They bring the children in through a side gate, so it's not as traumatizing. We visit in the prison chapel where there aren't as many rules about noise and running, and you can hug and kiss as much as you want. And in addition to that, we bring in toys, we serve a meal, we take photographs, and we try to make it a really nice quality visit for those moms and kids.
Yeah, that is awesome. I've experienced that, and it is just wonderful. But let's talk about this new mentor program that you guys have started.
Well, a few years back, we opened a transitional home we call Genesis, and it is a house where women can come after they leave prison and live there with us for about a year. It's structured housing, and so we help the women with their short and long-term goals and try to help them with all the things that might come up as a barrier to their success. Very intensive case management. They have to submit to random drug screens and that sort of thing, but it really helps people get a start, because it's very hard to have an apartment when you first come home, and sometimes there's not a family that can accommodate them. So we have noticed over the last few years how much of a difference that makes for people to really get that attention. And our ladies have been very successful. And just about 6, 7 months ago, somebody came to the door. Because she was interested in our program, and so I invited her in and we got to talking, and one of the things she had done was start a mentoring program, and that was Deborah Neal.
Very good.
And we just hit it off. And we started talking about how we could expand what we do for the women to women who settle in the community. There's several other group homes in the area. Of course, there's women that go home to their families and really need some, some guidance and somebody that they can call on when there's a problem. And so together, Deborah and I looked around and we found some funding, and the Alabama Civil Justice Foundation was nice enough to fund us for a year. So we've hit the ground running.
Yes, we have.
And here sits Deborah. Deborah, let's talk about this new program. I'm so excited. Aim Together?
Yes.
Very good. Tell us about it.
Aim Together is a new initiative to match women one-on-one with volunteer mentors from community and faith-based organizations. And we have 20 clients that we are recruiting that are either incarcerated or being supervised out in the community by probation, parole, or community corrections. We are also anticipating that we will recruit women who are at risk for offending and ending up in prison. So we're trying to avoid that. And so we are going to all the shelters where women are staying. We have women in our house that we are hoping to recruit. And we have been going to churches and community organizations and probation and parole, and we are really spreading the news about this new opportunity, because we believe that mentoring for this population is important for their success. Women are relational. We bond, and they need pro-social healthy relationships in order to succeed. Many women will return to some of the same circumstances and the same relationships that they've had. We want to try to prevent that, particularly if it's led to criminal activity. Many women's pathways into prison are similar. They go into prison because of some of their backgrounds. They have been abused. They have had dysfunctional family relationships. They earn less money than men. They are stuck in low-paying jobs, traditional jobs that don't give them enough to support their families. Plus, different from men who go to prison, they are usually the primary caretakers of children.
Absolutely. And, you know, even as you were running down the list of things that you shared with us, and you made mention of the churches. As we know, most of our churches are comprised with a lot of women. And I think it's so important that we hit the faith-based organizations,
Yes.
our local churches, because we want to be able to relate to what it is that they have going on in their world at this time.
Yes.
But to let them know that they don't have to stay there.
Yes, that's correct. And we are getting an excellent response from the churches. And the reason we see the response is that churches historically have always been there to provide for needy people, the underserved, for housing and clothing and food and prison ministries.
Yes.
So this is a natural for them to want to get involved in.
How are you guys, Carol? Have you been able to gauge in this time, enrich the lives of these women, not just through your churches and your other organizations, but just them spiritually as they transition out and come to Genesis? I've had the opportunity to come and visit Genesis, so.
Yeah, well, we encourage them, of course, to find a church home. We have had church groups come into the house and do Bible studies with them, or just life groups to help the women find some ground. We find the women, when they come out, very often have pretty low self-confidence. They don't feel too good about themselves. And a lot of that comes from the background where, you know, being in prison, you don't feel too good about yourself because everybody's telling you you're not. They also, you know, they have a hard time setting priorities. Right? They might come out thinking they have to help their children immediately. And they might buy something like a cell phone immediately when they don't really have the money. So there's a lot of need for guidance in that sort of thing. And you know, I think that there's an awful lot of guilt towards their children and towards their families for what happened. And so I think that women coming out of churches, spiritual groups, that sort of thing, really help women deal with those kinds of issues.
Very good. And I know that even when we were talking about AIM Together, the mentoring program, let's talk about the importance of volunteers, you know, for the organization and the need for, and even for someone that may be listening that might even want to get involved.
I have personal experience in this area. I'm a former lawyer, I'm a former judge, and I'm an ex-offender, all in that order. I have been on both sides of the judicial system. I know what it's like to go to prison and family turn their back on you, friends turn their back on you. But when you can come home and there is a healthy person that is only concerned with your welfare and your success, that means a great deal. I remember when I went home, I had 2 white women waiting for me. I was from Missouri and I lived in Texas. I was incarcerated in Texas. They came to see me. And it says in the Bible, did you come to see me when I was in prison? When I was naked, did you clothe me? When I was hungry, did you feed me? They sent me money. They sent me books. I was in 12-step recovery. Like so many of these women, over 70% of the women that are in prison have some type of addiction issue, right? And so that meant a lot. When I got home, they had boxes of new clothing waiting for me. I had to go to a halfway house. I had to wear an ankle bracelet. I'm a former judge in this community. There are a lot of shame issues. But when somebody embraces you, that is healthy, that wants to see you achieve and overcome, that is a beautiful thing to give back that way. So I feel that we're giving back, and we're identifying women in the faith-based community who want to give back.
I was actually going to ask about a success story, but I think we just heard one. I really was just about to ask about a success story that stands out. I didn't know you prior to coming here, but just listening just now, what an impact. What an impact.
Yes.
Yeah.
God has just led me to do this kind of work. And I was telling Carol, I said, even though I'm only part-time, I devote a lot of time to it because it comes from the heart.
Absolutely.
And if you get up every day and you're enjoying what you're doing, that's a blessing.
Yeah.
That's a blessing, and I feel very blessed to be able to do that. There's so much humanity behind these walls in these prisons. There are women there that have come from all walks of life. They are going to face a lot of challenges. A society is not friendly towards someone who has made a mistake.
Absolutely.
But you know, the Pope, when he was interviewed, Pope Francis, they asked him, the interviewer asked him, how would you describe yourself? He said, I'm a sinner first.
Yes.
I'm a sinner first. We've all made mistakes, and some of them have resulted in incarceration.
Yeah.
You pay your dues, you come back in society, and you want to achieve, you want to be successful. And that's what we're trying to instill in these women. Give them hope, give them future, give them that self-efficacy to know that they can do that.
That is awesome. And Carol, again, I know about AIM, but for someone that may be listening once again, in a nutshell, what is it that you want to leave with them when it comes to talking about AIM, Aid to Inmate Mothers, even when it comes to talking about AIM Together, which Deborah is now doing? What would you want them to know?
Well, I think that for people who don't know, this is a group of women who really are kind of like us. They're really like you and me. They've made a mistake, but they are people that are struggling, and they really need a helping hand. And for your volunteers, or people out there that would like to volunteer, if they really want to do something that makes a difference, this is something that they can do and get involved in.
Absolutely. And for you, Deborah?
I believe that anyone who feels that they have some time, some talent, some compassion, some caring, that they want to get involved with these women. To see a woman evolve and become all that she can be, and you helped her through that journey, it's a wonderful blessing. And I hope that we have people that will come and volunteer because we need them.
And the key thing, it has to be a good fit.
Yes.
And it has to be in the heart.
Yes.
And you want to leave them with hope.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm so excited, ladies.
you.
Thank you both so much for being with us. Wish we had more time, but I know you'll be back. Yes.
Yes.
Continue doing what you do.
Thank you.
It is definitely needed in the community.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you all for joining us on this segment of Joy in Our Town. You join us again next time with more of Joy in Our Town.